for it long enough, and finally I got the law to come in and take him out of there. So I know what it takes. If you're weaker, you cannot stand up to a bully. You have to have help. I'm here alive today because there's the law, so somebody came in and could take it out. So, I mean, we have to be realistic, too. I can see, we have to work for peace, but we have to, freedom requires strength.
So,
comment?
We had the gentleman there.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Do you want to go to him now? Mark, is it?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I see time is growing short, so I'll keep my comments quick today. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you to all the panelists. And I want to note that it was only through the politeness I didn't clap for the Mennonite, for you when you did. So I noticed that was I asked you tonight, so I would like to offer an applause for the presentation. Right, so what a wonderful way to spend a lunch is to talk about patriotism that our faiths affect them, and the power of nonviolence is can be a controversial topic. So I'll just give a little shameless plug for a workshop that we have. I have some flyers, I'll leave them here, but we do talk about alternatives to using violence. Using the example of nonviolence, Gandhi, for example, turned the whole country around. Christ, of course, revolutionized, started a revolution, the way we think about using force. And Martin Luther King, which is our 2-day workshop, is on, coming up in about a week and a half. Again, I'll leave some flyers here. Showed how laws can be transformed with very minimal amount of bloodshed and using the force of using the forceful action of nonviolence to be brave enough to use alternatives. Like one example is, people think they do nothing, they're nonviolent, they're doing nothing. Well, that's not the truth. Or that maybe they will not be victims of violence. Well, if you're nonviolent, you could be a victim of violence, but certainly our military people, of which I was in the military as well, are very subject to violence as well. So even if you use force against your opponent, does not mean you will not be a victim of violence yourself. So I appreciate all the viewpoints that are here. And if you'd like to participate in a 2-day workshop to explore some of these issues more than welcome to attend. And we're also working with the, I'll just say it's at the Franciscan Mule Center. We have 1 or 2 a year, and it's part of the nonviolence certificate program, along with other courses, this is one of the required courses. We're also working with Maricopa Community College District to start some courses there. And I think we'll be able to get started a curriculum there, which is a regular course. And the curriculum, I would say too, just one other thing, is that it was developed by Dr. Lafayette, who worked closely with Dr. King during the Civil Rights Movement. And so thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate all the viewpoints here.
Thank you.
Mark, aren't you also doing some work with prisons?
They're part of our movements here in Arizona. We have started doing some stuff, but my nonviolence co-workers in other states are. In California, for example, they just went and did a presentation there to a number of inmates.
Okay.
All right. Other comments, questions?
I just wanted to say one thing about. I am in favor of nonviolence when it comes to responding to change in government and so forth. What I fear sometimes, however, is that nonviolence is often redefined to include violence. Occupy Wall Street, when people crash through stores and start fires, that has often been reported as nonviolence because people were not using guns or killing people. So we need to point out the difference. I would just say that we need to, I don't believe that would be your definition of nonviolence, but words have a way of being betrayed. So we should be very careful about how we use that word, nonviolence.
If I could just comment too, it's interesting during the civil rights movements, Dr. King in interaction with Malcolm X, and how they would, there'd be always that discussion, heavy discussion during the civil rights movement about whether to use force or not. Not within Dr. King himself, but within people that he would work to collaborate.
Right.
Somebody talked about having people around the world, one or two, I think, mentioned something about that. It's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but I believe we have military presence in 170 countries. Okay? We've become the policemen for the world. That's what it amounts to. But we're not using those forces that are already there, in my opinion, to promote peace. Okay? And we still have the violence. Libya, for example, we had, is that the name where it was recently? Libya? Where our representatives were murdered, you know. But there's another thing, Rabbi, that I might want to comment. I don't know how much research you did about the 6-Day War, but there were military armaments that were being used against the state of Israel that were malfunctioning, according to the research that I've done. When those same instruments were captured and turned and used against the enemy, they worked with perfect clarity, perfect ability. They hit the targets every time. Now, some of us believe that prayer stopped those things from working correctly against Israel.
I'm not going to get into the theological question of armaments and prayer. I think that in so many ways the modern state of Israel is really a miracle. And I would point out that it is a miracle with problems like all other democracies. And one of the things perhaps that I'd like to bring up in this faith, in this group of very different faiths, is I was very chagrined to learn last week that a group of religious leaders from many liberal Christian organizations basically wrote a letter to Congress trying to cut Israel off at the knees. And they cited certain, what they felt were human rights problems and violations. And I know there are problems. And I think most of the problems would be gone if indeed Yasser Arafat, who somebody might have said was more moderate and really wanted peace, would have accepted a peace which would have given him 98% of everything he wanted when it was offered. And the same thing to Abbas, who've turned these things down. So, and I will tell people, you want to be critical of Israel, fine. But do it in the context of everything that else is happening in the world. Talk about, human rights in Israel when basically much of the Arab world is a sewer of human rights violations. About China, what's going on over there, what's happening in North Vietnam, what's happening in almost every other country. And the one correction I'd like to make to one of the panelists, to Mr. DeLozier, is, I know that there are hundreds of countries, 170 countries that have military presence. Among them are a few Marines in each embassy. So we are not fighting wars in 173 countries. We have a military presence because that's what diplomatic attaches generally have. They're not engaged in warfare. So and by the way, just to point out what you said, I'm glad that you reported the good Reverend. The only reason they applauded me because I was finished. Not because they liked what I said. Okay.
A lot of other questions. You had a question.
I actually just have
A comment?
All right. Please.
So my comment is regarding us being the police of the world. Perhaps we are the voice for those who are weaker, and that we have a responsibility to those who cannot stand for themselves. And everyone has personal choice. You must make that decision yourself, and you need to allow other people that as well.
Thank you. We've got 2 minutes. Any other comment?
I want to apologize to the rabbi for how aggressively I spoke. The word
It was nonviolent. It was
the word therapeutic has a long and controversial history in connection with that procedure.
okay.
If a woman has a compulsion within herself that she is not going to bring a particular pregnancy to term, nobody can stop her. And one definition is that that the abortion in those circumstances is therapeutic. But the doctor you were speaking to would not count that. So it's...
A lot. Words mean something, and
Yeah.
I dealt with the definition that I had. That's, there's a great phrase when there's a good debate in the Talmud, and it goes, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim, which translates both are the living words of God. And there are times that we can forcefully disagree with one another and realize that we don't have a monopoly on truth, or even a monopoly on understanding how God would think. This is panel week for me tomorrow. I'm on another panel tomorrow, which is to talk about, believe it or not, the question is, it's also loaded, is God a Republican or a Democrat? and I have to tell you, she is an independent. And so I just have to tell you that there are people, what we lose in civil discourse is that people think that the other, the people who take the view which is opposite of their own, is somehow malfunctioning and maybe even malevolent. I'll give the example which, how do you deal with the poor? The Republicans have a very different viewpoint than the Democrats have. I agree with certain positions on the right and certain positions on the left, but I truly believe that both sides want to fix the problem. It's that their pathways are different. And ultimately, if they can get together and talk rather than position one another against one another, then maybe we can come to solutions. But until then, we're going to have gridlock.
All right. Let's have a big round of applause for our speakers. Well, I want to express appreciation to each of you for your time with us today. It's been let me just say that I can't recall a time in one of these forums where I have wanted to speak so much. I think that says something about the fact that our folk have raised some very sharp issues with us and very appropriately so. And now I turn to Paul Eppinger, who has a few words.
Here's Paul.
Well, again, this has been a wonderful event today. I've said that each time I think we have three words in our American Interfaith Movement that are our foundational stones. One is understanding. We've got 25 different faith groups: Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Baha'i, Unification, Muslim, Jew, Christian, and what we are seeking to do is to break down the walls of religious ignorance and misunderstanding, to hatred and violence and war. We're seeking to build bridges of respect and understanding. So we've got three words. First is understanding. We have to understand each other's concept of God, life, truth, salvation, hell, heaven, prison reform, homosexuality, etc. Second word is respect. By that we mean no proselytizing, no criticizing, no dehumanizing. I think we saw that in a beautiful way here today, the whole idea of respect. So, panelists, thank you so very, very much. Last month, I mentioned, and I thought it was going to happen this month, but this next month, it for sure is going to happen, and our esteemed Dr. Tex Sample, author of 12 different books called On to Speak in New Zealand and Korea and Scotland and around the world and all over the country, has been the chairman of this faith forum for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And Tex has to go back to Kansas City to move back there now for family issues. And Tex, we want to say again, thank you. A couple of announcements, please. Larry, why don't you announce?
All right, good. Tex, I'm good to you guys. It's hard to but I'll make the shameless plug for this center. This is the Cutler Clock and Jewish Heritage Center. And real quick, if you haven't been here before, this is the very first synagogue that was built in Phoenix. It's actually a very appropriate place for an interfaith forum, though, because after it was a synagogue, it became a Chinese-speaking and then a Spanish-speaking Christian church. And so it has served for 2 different religions and 3 different ethnic groups, and it's a very diverse place. Anyway, my shameless plug, though, this Sunday, you see the piano up here and the lights, we're going to to have a very fun, lively concert of Jewish music performed by a lot of interesting local personalities, some more interesting than others, but all very good musicians. It's called Front Row Center, and it's a fundraiser to help support the center here, and it's open to any people of any faith. You'll really enjoy the music. It'll be a nice cultural experience Sunday at 2. There's information on the table out there as you go out. You're welcome to take a card. You can buy tickets on our website. It's a $25 admission, but it goes to help keep this place going and to support the restoration work that we've done on it. So I hope you'll attend, and by all means, people of any faith are welcome to come.
Let me add on to that. One of the pianists is the Attorney General of the state of Arizona, Tom Horn. And regardless of which way you might feel or think, Tom Horn is an incredible pianist.
He's quite good.
And he will be here.
He's played Gershwin. So regardless of all the politics, it's not a political event.
Yes.
Regardless of the politics, he's
Yeah.
quite an accomplished pianist. 2 o'clock this Sunday. We'd love to have you here. Like I say, there's information there. You go to our website.
These little cards are out here that give all the information. Okay, the second thing, they're on the 21st, is that this Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
There is a program for supporting voter rights from 4 to 6, Cesar Chavez Plaza, 201 West Washington Street. So you're invited to come. We've got a couple of flyers up here. Now then, from the Arizona Interfaith Movement. First of all, our Faith Forum next month is on November the 20th, and the topic will be the holidays, a time of celebration or depression. And the whole idea is going to be, how do different faiths handle and confront depression? So we invite you to come, November the 20th, again, here in this location. Now then, we also have, if you do not have one of the Golden Rule license plates, pattern actually Golden Rule, but it's an official license plate. There's a pattern, a way that you can get a license plate, an official license plate. So we invite you to get one of these.
Oh, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
I was not familiar with that process, but this organization gets a piece of the state does not keep all the money. Okay? So just to plug anybody that's interested in getting a license plate, this organization, if you buy it, will get about, what, 3/4, 4/5 of the money?
Yeah, the license plate costs $25 from the state. And this is true of Arizona State alumni or veterans or, all the different license plates. The state keeps $8. The organization gets $17 a license plate, which is, thank you. Okay. A couple of things. We have books available, Interfaith Inspiration from 22 different faith groups. Other books here. We have designed calendars for about the last, 8 or 9 years. This is the 2012 calendar, and underneath each month in red letters are all of the holidays, the holy days of every faith. And this is 2012, but we have for you 2013 calendars. And if any of you would like to take one or take some of these, why, they're available for you, and we invite you to come and take any of these. And what have I forgot?
Experience Interfaith.
Oh, yes. Experience Interfaith. A week from today, at Heritage Park, which is 7th Street and Monroe, we are having a marvelous event. The Sikh religion is 500 years old, and when they were brand new in India, they said, we've got to confront the major social ill that we see, which is the caste system, high caste, low caste. And to try to break that, they said, in our worship services, we'll all sit on the floor together so that there's no one higher than anyone else. Then they said, we will serve a free meal for everyone, and you don't have to attend the worship service to get the free meal. So you could have a high caste, rich man sit here, a beggar could walk in off the street and sit right next door, and then a woman, and then a child. Friends, they still do that. A week from tonight, the Sikh Gurdwara here in Phoenix, which has about 6 or 8 people in their Gurdwara who own some of these high-priced Indian restaurants, they are providing the food. 4 or 5 different restaurants are providing the food. We will sit on the floor, and the Sikhs will service this wonderful food. Now, we'll have a couple of tables for elderly or for infirm, but we'll be sitting on the floor and eating together. And then we'll break into small groups of 6 each. And at that time, we'll discuss, we'll give chairs to everybody so it's more comfortable. But instead of talking about our grandkids or will ASU win the game this week or whatever, we give questions for people to respond to. Most of us never have a chance to sit down with a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Sikh, a Unification, Scientologist, or whoever it is, and discuss critical issues. So that's a week from tonight, starting at 5 o'clock, is what we call a faith fair. We'll have 15 or 20 different faith groups represented. You can come and talk to Hindus or Buddhists or whoever and discover their faith. Then the program starts at 6, at which time we will eat, and then we go into the discussion. So we invite you to come.
Do you want to mention the theme?
Theme is peace. Yeah, thank you. Peace in action. If you couldn't get a feel of it here, why the theme a week from tonight is peace in action, and the discussion will be around that. For adults, $15 for students. Now we're saying students or college or high school. The participants have to be old enough to be able to respond and share, But $5 for students, a cup of coffee, $15 for adults, and you can get your tickets at the Heritage Park down there.
Or on our website, which is on the flyer.
Okay, the flyer is here. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So get one of these. So thank you for coming today. Again, thank you for our panel.